Hi, my name is Talia. Welcome to Talia Nerds Out. I had initially sat down just to record one video, the Behind the Booktube tag, but it looks like I have time to at least get another video in. I know that I have enough material to maybe do another video after that because I did quite a book haul. In the past month or so, I'll probably actually have enough for a couple of other videos, but I don't have time for more than maybe another video tonight, and then I'll try to do more in the upcoming days. But I don't know why I thought I'd do my knitting, why I thought I'd be able to. I should have done this during the Behind the Booktube tag, because I didn't have anything to do with my hands then. But there were a couple of university sales that were going on that were promoted on Discord by particularly horrible and evil people who were trying to get the rest of us to break all our vows of reading only from our TBR as much as possible, and instead tempted us to all get new books. So, yes, the Historathon Discord is evil because there are people who are horrible and awful and tell us when there are university sales. Now, some of the books that I picked up from the university sales were actually from the university sales, and some of them were ones that are I was like, oh, this sounds good, and it'd be something that I'd like to read, but then I would be like, well, I think I can get less expensive elsewhere. And it just occurred to me that I didn't grab all the ones that I needed from one of the universities. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to organize my books in a way that would make things easier. So I mentioned university book haul, but I think I'm going to first cover really quickly a book haul that was influenced by one of the books that I'm reading. So I am reading A Great and Terrible King, Edward I and the Forging of Britain by Mark Morris. And between this and I think it's called Greatest Night. It was about William Marshall. Between those two books, it made me want to look into other books by Ian Mortimer and Mark Morris. So I picked up, actually this one was hard to find in anything but a physical form. I don't think it was available on Kindle. The Bigoted Earls of Norfolk, and I'm probably not saying that right, in the 13th century. And they come up in here. So I look forward to reading this at some point, because I really don't know anything about them other than what was mentioned in The Great and Terrible King, which I'm getting so close. I'm almost at the point where I meet William Wallace. I think that's the next chapter. So then I picked up The Fears of Henry the Fourth, Life of England's Self-Made King. And yeah, I ended up picking this up just because of the Ian Mortimer authorship, because I really enjoyed the last book I read of his. But yeah, I actually read a book about him last year. It was called The Winter King. I have another book by that author that's called The Brothers York that I thought I would read this year, but I don't think I will be because it's a fairly thick book, and I chose to read this one instead, which is fairly thick. So that will not be read this year. But yeah, it just occurred to me that I read a book about Henry IV last year. This will not be read this year. I just wanted another Ian Mortimer book, and this was another one that either it was too expensive on Kindle or I couldn't find it on Kindle, which is why I got it physical. So those two books were influenced by what I was already reading. I mentioned in my last video some of the books that I don't generally show because they fall in those controversial areas of politics, religion, but I am going to show a religious book that I did pick up. It's actually a recently released book. I got it on pre-order, actually. And it's called The Screwtape Letters and the Catechism. So this is by Marlon de la Torre, PhD. And if you're familiar with the Screwtape Letters, it was written way back when by, I think that was C.S. Lewis. Yes, C.S. Lewis, classic Screwtape Letters. I got so much out of it when I read it. I think I read it in high school. And I was looking for, there was someone else, and I can't remember the author's name, who did like a second edition, I guess you could say, many, many years later, where he wanted to cover some specifically Catholic issues. And when I was trying to describe this book to my mom, I typed in Catholic and Screwtape Letters. Well, it took me a lot longer to find the book I was looking for so I could tell her about it. But this popped up. And I was like, oh, this is cool. This might be interesting. By the Catechism, they mean the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which, if you've never seen it, is a big old thick book that just goes through all the different teachings of the Catholic Church on all sorts of various issues. So there's no real, gray area on what it is that we believe. But yeah, this looks like it's got, I actually haven't looked through this really yet. It looks like it's got meditations and discussion questions. So it's a different setup than the original Screwtape Letters. I'm not really sure how it's going to be approaching it in conjunction with the Catechism, but I already remember enjoying reading the Screwtape Letters and the idea of marrying the two books in one book. Not marrying them insofar as like they are combining in some sort of weird way, but covering both of the books and how they relate to each other, or how they can be, that sounds terrible too, talking about both books in one book. There we go. I'm interested in seeing how they are addressed. So now the university sales. So there were two sales. There was one that was Yale, and the other one was, oops, this doesn't belong here. The other one was this, let me see, Princeton. So there's a Yale one and Princeton one. Now the Princeton one, first of all, the date that I went in too early. Apparently the sale didn't start when we thought it did. But even if I had hit the sale, I found the books less expensive elsewhere, so I got the books elsewhere anyway. So I got several books that would have, well, this isn't going to be here either. Sorry, I'm trying to reorganize things. This goes over here. Okay. So I picked up several books that would have been from Princeton. This goes over here too. Oh, good heavens, that video's going to be long. Okay. So I ended up picking up, it looks like I picked up 4 books with Princeton kind of in mind, because these were books that I had recommended through Princeton that I would have otherwise picked up on sale. I do believe that I might have picked up a couple of Kindle books, but I can't remember. These are the physical books I picked up, though. So the first one, this is actually more of a picture book than anything else. This is a collection of, it was original children's book art in the Betsy Binick Shirley collection. And these are just, it goes through, the way they have this book set up, it's through the developmental ages, but different artists and different styles throughout the ages while you're going through different developmental ages. Like here we have the story of the 3 little bears, and these are like nice pieces of art. You have everything from like paintings to sketches, and it talks a little bit about each of the things. This is Terrapin speaking to Brer Rabbit. You also have, so you have a little bit about, you have a little bit about each little thing. Oh, this is kind of cool. The Knights of the Hop Around Table. I wish I had known about this when I was a kid. Isn't that adorable? And there's sketches related to that. Apparently that was put out by, okay, I'm not sure if, I think the dates here for the author's time, like how long they lived and their birthday and their death date. So 1876 to 1953. But it looks like there was an unfinished dummy of this particular book, so I guess a sketch for this book in 1941. So this was a 1940s children's book, apparently. And it just looks like it was adorable. So it just is filled with a bunch of different pictures through the ages. And this is just something I think would be really nice, a coffee table book. I just wanted to bring something up that was maybe a little bit different than some of the other things that I've shown. Let's see. Here's, okay. So, Triumphal Entry into Reims. This is a little bit later. I'm not sure. This is probably when you're looking at teens or whatever for that age group. This is illustrations for Twain's essay on the legendary French martyr. So this is from 1984's Harper Monthly magazine. Twain had a lifelong intellectual obsession with Joan of Arc, calling her the most extraordinary person the human race has ever produced. Oh, that's interesting. Now, I think I've not read Twain's Joan of Arc. I've read Bernard Shaw's, and I think that was a play, if I remember correctly. I had to read it in high school. My dad recently read Twain's, and I think he really enjoyed it, so I do need to check out his novel, Personal Recollection of Joan of Arc. Did I show the actual picture? Yeah, I think I did. So it just has things like that throughout. You got Robinson Crusoe, all sorts of things. And like I said, it's just probably mostly something that'd be really nice as a coffee table. Here's a nice alphabet. But not a whole lot of intense reading. But I thought it was cute, so I picked it up. And I like artwork. And that's kind of been a theme of the books I've been picking up lately. And I'll mention, and this is why it doesn't have anything to do with the sale. I finished this book, which I really enjoyed, by the way. Maybe I'll bring it up more in one of the other videos that I'll record. But I really enjoyed this, and it's made me want to continue my tendency already to read about art history, especially art history and religion combined. Actually, here we go. I think this falls right in there. Painting in Florence and Siena after the Black Death, The Arts, Religion, and Society in the Mid-14th Century by Millard Mace? So that looks good. I haven't really flipped through it. It looks like it's all black and white pictures, which, okay, kind of annoying, but at least they're still good pictures. And actually, a decent amount of them. Okay, I was looking to see if there's any actual text because there's so many pictures in the center. Like, hang on, I'll show you guys. Okay, not there yet. Not there yet. Okay, there we go. Look, like a third of the book almost is just plain pictures. So, okay, yes, they're black and white, but you do get to see all the different pictures that they're referring to in here. So, I guess at least they do that much. I mean, it's better than not having any pictures. So this looks like that. I feel like this will be good. The other one, or one of the other ones I picked up that were a Princeton book, Cultural Exchange, Jews, Christians, and Art in the Medieval Marketplace. And I thought it was interesting because it's not just talking about business between the Jews and Christians during medieval time period, but it also talks about the exchange of art culture. And this is something that actually came up briefly in the Bible Illuminated, because not only were there a couple of illuminated manuscripts, not to the same opulence perhaps of some of the Christian illuminated manuscripts, but there were some illuminated manuscripts that were Jewish, that were Hebrew. And I thought it was interesting. They were from the Hebrew Bible's not the correct way to say it, but I guess the Torah. And yeah, it was something I did not realize that was done for their sacred scripture. I didn't realize that they had illuminated manuscripts for that. There were also points, and this is something that also came up in this book, where you might have Jewish artists who would be hired to do either lettering or even the artwork in certain illuminated manuscripts, which was interesting to me as well, because I would have thought that they would have done everything possible not to have someone who is Jewish working on these manuscripts, considering the biases of the age. I would have thought that they would have avoided that at all costs. So I found that to be interesting. So when I saw this here, that kind of touched on something that came up in that book. I was like, oh, this could be interesting. And also the relations of these two peoples during that time period, while in many ways tragic, is also interesting. Finally, the last book that I picked up that was part of the Princeton sale, but I wasn't able to get on sale at Princeton, so I got less expensively than even the sale would have been, off at a different site. This is From England to France, Felony and Exile in the High Middle Ages. And this is something that comes up all the time if you read English history about, someone getting in trouble either because they tried to overthrow the king, or usually it's because they tried to overthrow the king, or they're running away from debts, or something like that. And then they will run to France. This happened with all of, the brothers of Richard Lionheart, Richard himself. Then you had all three of his brothers. Yeah, Henry, Geoffrey. I don't think John ever ran. John might have run once, and if he did, it was with his mother Eleanor. But they all ran to France whenever they were rebelling against King Henry. So that was something that came up a lot in the William Marshall book that I was reading. And it's come up at least a couple of times in Great and Terrible King. I almost said the title of the William Marshall book, so I had to think about it for a second. A Great and Terrible King, about Edward the First. No, Edward the First. Edward Longshanks, Hammer of the Scots. So, comes up in his book, and also comes up in the book I'm listening to on the dispensers. So, it's coming up in several different places. And this seemed like it would be an interesting book to cover, since this is a topic that if you read English history in the medieval times for any period of time, the English-France relationship is going to come up, and you're going to see people who are fugitives from England running to France. So, look forward to reading that. Probably not this year, but I look forward to reading it. I'm going to close this video up with the... Sorry, I got to reach past here. Oops, sorry guys. There we go. With the books that I picked up from Yale, and I actually got quite good sale on these books from Yale. I don't think that I picked up any books from other places. I think the other books I might have liked from other places, I think I just put on an Amazon wish list that they were more expensive than I wanted to spend. But other than that, actually, this one was from Yale. I mentioned it was at Princeton. This one was at Yale. And this one I did pick a different place. One of my books fell. Ouch. Hold on. Sorry, guys. But all the other ones I mentioned for Princeton were from Princeton. Just this one was Yale. Okay. the Yale book over there. So I ended up picking up 3 books from Yale itself, after taking advantage of the sale. So this one is How to Read Medieval Art. And they mentioned the Met, but this one was one I got from Yale. So I'm not quite sure why it says the Met on here instead of Yale, but I got it from Yale. Oh, there it is. Distributed by Yale University Press. Okay, I was going to say I got it from Yale. As much as I like reading about medieval art, this seemed like it was something that would be right up my alley. I think it's supposed to talk about symbolism and stuff. It looks like it's covering a bunch of different art forms. So besides painting, it looks like you might also have, like, the different doors. Looks like you have stuff in copper. I mean, you have typical things like the Book of Hours and stuff, but you have a dippet, I'm never sure how to say that. You have plates, all sorts of different kinds of artwork. And I'm guessing you'll go into each one in more detail. Honestly, the way it's set up makes me think of the Bible Illuminated, and I might start this one after the other medieval art book I'm currently reading that I will try to show next video I make. Then, this one looked really interesting to me. Marking the Hours, English People and Their Prayers. And this is by Eamon, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Duffy. So it looks like it's an Irish name, I'm guessing, with that last name, and therefore I'm probably mangling it because Irish names can sound very differently than the way they are spelled. So, in this richly illustrated book, religious historian Eamon Duffy discusses the Book of Hours, the most intimate and widely used book of the later Middle Ages. Now, it is used still today. I personally pray from the Book of Hours. Supposed to do it twice a day. I don't always get the second time a day in as much as I should. And if you're not familiar with it, if you read enough medieval history, it should come up a couple times, but especially if you read about monasticism. But they are different points. The Book of Hours covers different parts of the day where you are praying with Scripture, specifically Psalms, but it does have other parts of the Bible as well. You eventually pretty much hit all of the Bible by the time a year is through, but that's if you do all of the hours. And there used to be more required hours for the monks, but I believe that they've cut even those hours down. I think they lost one of the times. I can't remember what they were called because they used to be only given Latin names. So the names that I would know, morning prayer, evening prayer, etc., aren't the names that they were called back then. And the times are slightly different. But anyway, he examines surviving copies of the prayer books, which were used for private devotions, in which people commonly left traces of their lives. From these somewhat clumsy jottings, Duffy teases out precious clues to the private thoughts of their owners and insights into the times in which they lived. Book of Hours range from lavish illuminated manuscripts to mass-produced volumes costing a few shillings or pence. Some include customized prayers and pictures, and others, handed down from one family member to another, bear the often poignant traces of a family's history. Duffy places these volumes in the context of religion and social change, above all the Reformation, discusses their significance to Catholics and Protestants, and describes the controversy they inspired under successive Tudor regimes. Yeah, I'm interested to see how it was handled post-Tudor regimes. I believe High Anglicans still have a Book of Hours that they pray from. I don't think it's not required for the laity any more than it's required for the Catholic laity, but it is available to pray from. Now, I'm not sure if it's required for Anglican, I believe they are called Anglican priests. I know for Catholics it's priests. I'm not sure if it's Anglican priests or if it's Anglican pastors. I'm not sure. But I'm not sure if for their ministers, if they are required to pray their from their book of hours multiple times a day, like Catholic priests are, also called the Divine Office. But I do know that it is available for both the laity, for both the Catholics and I believe also for the High Anglicans, if not Anglicans in general. I'm not completely sure on that. I was in a Facebook group for people who prayed the hours. I was surprised to see that, oh, it's not just Catholics here. So learned something new. But yeah, interested in seeing how this is. This looks like it would be a nice read. I don't think that I'll get this one in this year. I'd have to finish a lot of books before I get to this, I think. But at least, yeah, I won't get it in this year. I have already started this one, though, because I figure I can read this one through the year. I'm not going to place it in any time period, even though it probably is technically medieval. But I think it's going to reach into the present as well. Anyway, this is Vampires, Burial, and Death by Paul Barber. It was originally put out, I believe, in the 80s. It has been updated a little bit. I'm not quite sure when they updated it. But it's a copyright of 1988 by Yale University. Oh, the new preface was in 2010. So I believe they did any updates they wanted to do around that time period as well. I ended up using my stamp for the Plague Doctor because it seemed apropos. And I barely started it. I've got my Just One More Chapter skeleton bookmark, although I have coming in. Oh, I can't wait to show these. There are magnetic bookmarks that have, you know how sometimes medieval art, the animals are kind of creepy in the way they drew them, like the cats have like these really scary human faces on them and things like that. I found magnetic bookmarks with medieval style art on it, including like the animals. There was a vampire donkey. So when I get my vampire donkey magnetic bookmark, it's going in here because it's going to fit. And I think a lot of this is going to cover the vampiric legends in medieval time. I mean, it might cover later, some of the later ideas of vampiric lore, but I haven't gone very far along in it. I just thought the idea was cool, covering the folklore, etc. So, yes, this was another Yale book that I picked up. That's everything for right now. I have I have books set aside for another video. Who knows, that video might be end up being two videos. I picked up quite a few books by one author. And just as a spoiler, the author is Michelle P. Brown. She's the one who has written one of the books I'm currently reading, and that is, I think it's, hang on, I always say the name wrong. The Bead and the Theory of Everything. And I've been really thoroughly enjoying that book. I also have another book of hers that she did on scribes and scripts during a medieval time that I have up in my room where I reference it for calligraphy stuff. I haven't made it through very far. Every once in a while I'll look through it for scripts, but I actually need to finish reading the section that I'm on for materials and stuff. But that's been started for a while ago. But I've been really enjoying her book on bead, so I have a bunch of books that I've picked up of hers that I want to show in a video by themselves, because I picked up, I think, most of what she's written, which is a lot. So that'll be a video for another time. But thank you very much for joining me today for this video on the University Book Haul. Hope that you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Like I said, I hope that maybe even tomorrow I can record the video for Michelle P. Brown's, my Michelle P. Brown book haul. But I mean, I don't know exactly when I'll record. I just hope it'll maybe be done. All right, so thank you very much for joining me. I will see you next time. God bless. Bye-bye.